stand-up comedian, not you guys. Sit down. You don't have to stand up for me. Okay, so here's the story. I'm hosting this afternoon with Salman Khurshid and Moin Chauhan. Those guys haven't landed up yet. They're running late. So you've got me until they show up. Let's just do a Q&A. We can chat about whatever you guys want to talk about. Any questions? You got some microphones? Huh? What is my student life like? So I went to a boarding school in Himachal called the Lawrence School Sanar. And it was awesome. We had a 140-acre campus and we had very beautiful girls. So, I mean, we were away from, my family was in Calcutta. I spent 8 months a year there every year. And it was awesome because we had one entire campus with no parents. But in our time, the thing that was different was that, like, do your teachers beat you? Do your seniors hammer you? So our scene was very different. You can do what you want, but if you get caught, you have to take the punishment. And the punishment was we got hockey sticks on our backsides. So, but in some ways, it was damn simple. If you do something wrong, you'll get caught. If you get caught, you get hammered. So either you learn to toe the line, or you learn how to take the hammering, or you learn how to not get caught. But it was great. I always loved being in school. I hated going home because I was living on a campus with 750 other kids my age, and we always had a great time. So yeah, school life for me was pretty good. But also in our time, there wasn't that kind of focus on academics. Like in my school, most of us were really duffers, right? And it was never considered to be cool to be good at academics. The downside of being in a boarding school was that we didn't realize how important academics were. That we were brought up on this whole philosophy of all-round development, be good in sports, theatre, learn a musical instrument. Nobody ever told us that the only thing that matters when you get out of class 12 is that one piece of paper with your class 12 board exam results. So that was one thing we could have benefited from in school. So we were not as worldly wise or aware as you guys. We didn't have conferences like these. We had one person who used to come from Lucknow every year to do a career counseling session. And they knew nothing about anything. So you guys are far more fortunate in that regard. Yeah? Any more? Just stick a hand up. What's your name? Anubhav. Thanks. Anyone? Yeah, bro.
How did you get...
What's your name? Tell me. Yeah.
How did you get inspiration to choose your stage name?
How did I get inspiration to choose my stage name? So my stage name is Papa CJ. CJ is initials for my name, which is top secret anyway. I will not tell you right now. I started doing my comedy in London. My first 700 shows were in the UK. And I always wanted to represent India in a very positive light. I was the only Indian comedian in the entire country. So subconsciously I thought to myself कि अंग्रेजों को भी लगना चाहिए उनका भी कोई बाप है. So I think that's why I made up the Papa, and somewhere at the back of my head I used to get a secret kick when all the English guys were like, hey Papa, I was like, yeah, that's right. We'll go over first and then come back to you. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Devanshi. So, I think it's a request from everyone. Can you perform some bit of your favorite set? The one you love the most?
Yeah. See, I normally do very adult stand-up comedy.
Don't underestimate us.
Okay, so for starters, I'm going to ask you to put your mobile phones down. We don't want to leave evidence of this. Okay, I'll do a few minutes. For starters, I mean, can we have a round of applause for Mehak who introduced me on the stage? Thank you so much. You know, as comedians, we pay a lot of attention to the person who actually introduces us onto stage. Because like 2 weeks ago, I was in Singapore. And the show I did was hosted by a Pakistani stand-up comedian. So this guy got on stage, warmed up the audience, and he invited me onto stage. In that second, I realized I had been a part of history. It was the first time I had seen a Pakistani invite an Indian to occupy a piece of land that he was
on. Our first keynote speaker for the day is none other than Mr. Salman Khurshid Alam Khan, a famous politician and a senior advocate from the Indian National Congress who has been active in the Indian political arena for almost 3 decades. A renowned lawyer, educationist, writer, politician, Mr. Khurshid was born into a distinguished family of educationists, some national leaders who have served the country with great distinction. His maternal grandfather, Dr. Zakir Hussain, went on to become the third president of India, and his father, Shri Khurshid Alam Khan, was a noted parliamentarian, Union Minister of State for External Affairs, and also Governor of Karnataka and Goa. An alumnus of St. Stephen's and Oxford University, Mr. Salman Khurshid had the honour of teaching law at Trinity College, Oxford. His political career started at the Prime Minister's office as the officer on special duty. Slowly, he climbed up the political ladder and served as the Union Deputy Minister of Commerce and the Union Minister of State for External Affairs. He has also been the president of the Uttar Pradesh Congress Committee twice. Besides politics, Mr. Khurshid has been deeply involved in writing and acting in plays since his student days in Delhi and Oxford. His acclaimed play, Sons of Babur, has been translated into several languages and performed across the country as well as in UK. At Home in India and If Winter Comes are some of the books authored by him. Mr. Khurshid is a patron of the Mother Teresa Memorial Trust and has also set up the Zakir Hussain Memorial Trust. His other interests include cricket, squash, wildlife, adventure, and reading biographies. Sir, it is an honor to have you amongst us today.
So we would like to present you a token of appreciation.
Let him do his work first, yeah? You can't already give him the appreciation. Let him give you some nice answers, some interesting questions, then you have to appreciate. I'm kidding, like all kidding. So are you expecting sir to get up and say a few words first, or should we just go straight into a Q&A? What would you prefer, sir?
You could do it that way. I speak for a little.
Sure. All yours.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I must apologize. I've come directly from court. There's a very important matter still being heard in court number 5, and there are many lawyers, but you don't know when the sword falls on you, so you have to just watch very carefully. But I had a commitment to you, and I wasn't going to get out of that commitment, so here I am. Frankly, what is it that one can say to young people like you, brimming with enthusiasm, energy, idealism, just waiting to have a go at the world and to change the world? When you're people are your age, there's one burning desire that you have, and that's to change the world. Whatever you see around you, you want to ask yourself, why can't this change? Why can't it be different? Why can't things work in a manner which is fair and honest? Why can't people get more joy out of living? Why can't we achieve more and then distribute it equitably amongst people who don't have talent perhaps that you have, or the opportunity to grow in the manner where you've been given this opportunity? So there's very little, to tell you the truth, there is very little that one can say to you, but there's a huge amount that one can get from you, to learn from you. And that's why the adage, the child is the father of man, that you can teach those who believe that they have come here to teach you. But you are growing up at a time when you're about to step out into the big bad world from the confines and comfort of your school here. Beautiful school, very green, very pleasant, and I would imagine that has an impact on the environment, has an impact on your hearts and minds, which is why we give environment so much importance in our lives. But as you step out into the real world, as it were, the world that can be cruel, that can be tough, that can be unforgiving, that can be very competitive, that can be unfair at times, that requires a great deal effort to keep abreast of, etc. So as you step out, and the school would prepare you for it, and then after school you go into undergraduate studies, go to college, university, and then finally into the world on your own. Preparing for that each day, each moment is what you've done when you've been in school. But the question really is that as you step out, with whatever level of preparation that you have, and I sincerely pray and hope that your preparation would be about as perfect as it can be, there are things waiting for you there that you have to confront, that you have to face, that you have to perhaps combat, that perhaps you have to overcome and overwhelm. And why should you do it, and in which manner should you do it, is something that you will have to reflect upon as you go. And then when you think with some nostalgia about the days that you spent at school, it will give you both a sense of belonging, to know where you're coming from, but it will also give you strength to face the adverse circumstances that inevitably all of us have to face at some stage in life. Only the very...
So we have head boys and head girls from over 37 schools in Delhi over
These
here.
are many schools. These are many schools. So you're head boys and head girls. The best, of course, that every school has produced. But there is a thing of identity. There's a thing about identity. In each school that you belong to, and of course the larger collection of schools that you are gathered here, there's an identity. You have identity as student leaders, head boys, head girls, student leaders. You have an identity as someone who wears a green blazer, a blue blazer, a red blazer, or a maroon blazer, or a striped blazer. You have an identity. You have the old school tie, which takes you a notch higher and a step further than anyone else in comparison to you. The idea of identity is sometimes very positive. So when you shout and when you scream for your own school teams, that's part of a positive identity. But when you begin to hate, when you begin to despise someone because they are different from your identity, then it becomes a terrible human problem. And one of the big problems of the world today is the problem of identity. How do you overcome identity? That is a big problem. Identity useful to preserve in order to enhance your capability and capacity and your connectivity and your communication. But identity, if it makes you dislike, despise, or hate somebody, an identity that causes divides in society, identity that takes you apart from other people, identity that makes you envy and deprive somebody of something that you are seeking yourself, is something that you will be fighting against, that you will fight to be successful in, I sincerely hope. Now, much of what I'm telling you would perhaps mean more to you as leaders of your respective schools and as being leaders of people that you lead in the school, because that's what head boys and head girls are about. But life as head boy and head girl also is especially tough, because you made it to the top where you are, but in the next step again you have to make it to the top. When you go out, you've been the best that your school has produced, and you go into a big institution. You go to Oxford University, Cambridge. You went to go to Loyola College. You go to Christian College, Madras. You go to St. Stephen's College, etc. I'm only naming a few of the top institutions, and you find that you are insignificant because there are so many people who are accomplished and who are very successful. And you think, by God, I was the best at my school, the school thought for many, many years, and here I am. I have to struggle against somebody. And at every step, you find that there is competition larger and greater than competition that you've ever faced in the past of your life. But you transform yourself, you grow in your shoes, you grow in terms of height, and soon become even larger and greater then the icons of those institutions and the successful people, the generations that have gone before you. And that's the story of humankind, that step by step you get to your destination. So long as you are determined that your destination is something you must reach, and the destination is something you will not rest about unless you actually finally be sure and certain that you've actually reached it. Just a few points to flag. We'll have a discussion, you can ask questions, and I'll respond to your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, to start with, we've got a few questions from the students themselves, and after which we'll open it up to questions from the audience if we have time. Since this is a leadership conference, almost any book we open on leadership has a different definition. So, our first question to you is, what does leadership mean to you, sir?
Well, for me, leadership is always being in the front. People assume that if you're the front, you lead. But there are leaders who can be at the back and still lead because you're nudging people on, you're pushing people on. I think to be a leader, and the most important fact about being a leader, is to understand everything about the people you lead. If you can instinctively tell what is that they aspire to, if you can instinctively judge what is that they are capable of doing, and push them to the point where they don't break down, push them with encouragement, push them with example, push them by being comforting and understanding, you're a leader. A leader isn't necessarily somebody bigger than you, somebody larger than you, but a leader is somebody who means something to you. So if you are able to speak to someone and communicate better than anyone else, you're a leader. If you can feel someone's heart throb, somebody's heart when nobody else in the noise can hear, even have them speak their name, etc., you're a leader. When you feel that somebody else who deserves something more than you should get it first, you're a leader. That's all that put together makes you a leader. But of course, there is a performance quotient as well. There is a visibility quotient as well. There is a perception quotient as well. And you need to work on all that too if you want to be a leader. I mean, if you don't stand tall, if you don't speak well, if you don't look confident, if you don't reach out, then you're unlikely to be accepted as a leader. But it would be just pure subjectivity to say, I would take so-and-so. And I'm saying so much in order not to slip and say, well, I would choose myself. I mean, that's the first thing a politician says, is I would choose myself. But realistically speaking, when people ask me, why don't you choose yourself? And I say that I understand the ground level politics, it would not work. I could be part of a team, but it wouldn't work that I would, and I'm saying this after having been head boy of DPS many years ago. I'm saying this, that at some point even a head boy has to believe that he's no longer a head boy.
Thank you, sir, and thank you very much for your time today. We are out of time for questions.
Thank you, sir. It is an honor to have you amongst us today. Surely your words will continue to guide and inspire us for a long time. Sir mentioned a leader is a person who pushes a group forward and solely is not the front page. A leader is a person who understands others and respect their ideas. These things which we will keep in mind and imbibe in our life. So thank you for taking our time and being with us. Thank you, sir.
All the best. Good luck.
One of the most acclaimed singers in the Indian music industry. Tagore Chauhan. His deep interest in science had made him consider being a research scholar initially, and later on as a theatre artist. He wanted to join the Film and Television Institute of India, also known as the FTII. But then, music happened, and there hasn't been any looking back ever since. A self-taught musician with a velvet voice, Mr. Chauhan started his career with the Indian pop band Silk Route, which released two albums, Boonde and Pehchan. The song Duba Duba, that made waves during the 1990s, is remembered even today. He has many hit Bollywood songs to his credit. His songs in Rang De Basanti, Rockstar, Jab We Met, Delhi 6, Once Upon a Time in Mumbai, and in many more movies have left us spellbound to the magic of his voice. He is a two-time recipient of the Filmfare Award in the Best Male Playback Singer category. He has also been awarded the Zee Cine Award thrice. Besides being a singer and a songwriter, the multi-talented Mr. Mohit Chauhan also plays the harmonica, flute, guitar, and the saxophone. Sir, it is an honor and our absolute pleasure to have you amongst us today.
Hi Mohit, my name is Papa CJ. I'll be hosting you today. Before we start, is there anything you would like to say before we start?
Well, I just want to say the pleasure is mine coming here to your beautiful school. And this is my first time to this school. And to many schools actually.
We've got head boys and head girls from over 37 different schools in Delhi.
Right now over here?
Yeah, in this audience. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. So, head boys and head girls, you guys stay in that position for 1 year? Okay. 2 years. And then there's an election? Election, okay. So you guys start learning pretty early in life. Okay.
Unless, of course, somebody like smokes a joint in the building. Okay, so instead of any pre-planned questions, should we just do this whole session as a Q&A? Okay. You're gonna wait, okay? This guy is the most enthu guy, and if you don't answer his question, he will stalk you and come to your house. So, stand up, tell us your name, and ask your question to Mohit. On the mic, please, so everyone can hear.
Good evening, sir. I'm Rahul. So, since you're in the creative line, how do you think creativity helps in shaping the mind of a leader?
Good question. And you learn because of your creativity and because of the other person might be thinking. So it creates a whole lot of empathy. And also being an artist is a solitary thing. You can't create music when you hang out with a lot of people. You do that when you get time. But if you want to be a musician, you got to spend a whole lot of time playing to yourself, playing the guitar, or you're singing your songs or writing lyrics. And the first draft is not the song that you're going to be using in your album. Probably it'll be the 100th draft, And even then you'll be doubtful whether it's nice and whether people will like it, or just like making movies actually. So it creates a whole lot of atmosphere in your head which teaches you patience, empathy. It teaches you how to be happy with yourself in solitude, So even for a writer, if you want to write a book, you got to spend a whole lot of time alone with yourself. So I think creativity helps with a whole lot of those things which are finally helpful if you become a leader in any field, And you could be a leader in leader doesn't mean politician, You could be a leading person in your artistic pursuit or science or literature or whatever you want to do. So I think creativity, if you really, really exercise your creative processes and enjoy them, then it helps you with all these beautiful things like patience, empathy, yourself, you can understand. I think that really is important. I hope
I'm going to add to that actually. As a comedian, I can also chip in on that.
Right.
Is that creativity helps you with lateral thinking. And lateral thinking allows you to look at problems through a different way.
Absolutely.
Secondly, there's leadership by example. I mean, there's a reason that Mohit is in this room, because you have seen the journey he has taken, and the field teaches you his relationship skills. Today, as artists, people will work with us because they want to work with us.
Hi, sir, I'm Pranav, and my question to you is, since we were talking about technology right now, so with technology also comes auto-tune. So my question is that nowadays auto-tune is being used, and people who can't sing really well also sound extremely nice as a playback voice. And there are certain people who actually genuinely sing really well who aren't recognized, and even if they are recognized, they don't get the amount of fame that the auto-tuned singers get. So, do you feel that that is an upcoming problem, which, I mean, it is, but what do you think could be done to solve that?
Can you share what auto-tune is for the people who don't know?
Everyone knows.
For me.
See, autotune is like any other program that you have on the musical apparatus that you have, in the studios. Apart from the reverbs and delays and the fuzz, distortions, and the EQs, you have a program called autotune. So, if, for example, you're singing in a key of G, and I set the autotune to G, everything in that song will fall into the slots of that particular key. But if you're not a good singer and you're not being able to hold the tune right, if I put a autotune G on it, it'll also distort it. So autotune is just one program which people use to set certain things right in the manufacturing of the song. So basically, in studio, it's not performance, it's the manufacture of the song. So a song can take 2 days, 3 days, you can record 5 lines and rethink them, and record them again. So autotune is one such program. And people who sound good without autotune will sound good without autotune. So will you sing it with me? Will you sing it with me? तेरा ना होना जाने क्यों होना ही है तुमसे ही दिन होता है सुरमई शाम आती है तुमसे ही हर घड़ी सांस आती है जिंदगी कहलाती है तुमसे ही कगर मोरी इतनी अरज तुझसे चुन चुन खाइयो मां कगर मोरी इतनी अरज तुझसे चुन चुन खाइयो मां अरजिया रे खाइयो ना दोने नाम खाइयो ना दोने नाम पिया से मिलन की आस खाइयो ना दोने नाम खाइयो ना तूने नाम पिया से मिलन की आस ओ नादा परिंदे घर आजा घर आजा घर आजा घर आजा